stimulate the mental. Time to strategize, huddle up, where's your circle? I can feel the movement radiate through the convo. Talk is cheap, turn your faith into work. I drink my second cup and put my hands in the dirt. 2 cups, drinking straight drip from the earth. Caffeinated conversations, you heard them here first. One for the wake up. One for the wake up. Two for the work. Caffeinated conversations, you heard them here first.
Welcome back to Two Cups Cafe, where I'm your host, Alan C. Jackson, and who I have coming through for a high-quality caffeinated conversation today is none other than one of my greatest friends in the whole wide world, Sean Wood. What's up, S-Dot?
What up, though? What's good?
Oh, man, just please, man, just to be down here, man, hanging out with you, man, for a couple of days, and we've been trying to do this for a while, man. Let's just rewind the time, man. We've been knowing each other over 30 years, man, and you know, God has been good, man. You've been able to come down here to Florida and Tampa Bay area and raise your family, man. You're a serial entrepreneur, as I call you, man. You've been doing a lot of things in the entertainment space, man. But if we could just rewind it back, man, and just talk about, you know, how we started hanging out. I think it was the summer before 9th grade, man.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy because I think this happens with most of the people that I become closest with. I don't like them at first. and the buzz was everybody in the neighborhood was just talking about, this cat Al, on the football field. And I was pretty much one of the older cats in our neighborhood. So, it was kind of shot to the ego where it was like my name wasn't talked about no more. And so I was like, man, I got to see who this cat is. And one day, we were in the field across the street from your grandmother's crib, and they was like, "Oh man, Al outside, man." I went and threw on my shoes and I think I had on like a cut off shirt trying to show my little biceps or whatever. I get the ball, man, and this dude hit me so hard. I was like, oh man, I played it off and kept playing through the game, but after that I was like, I don't like Buddy. But I think that, after that summer, or actually during that summer, we both decided we were going to Montgomery, and I think I was riding my bike to practice, and you kind of tailed, right behind me, and it was, we started rapping on the way to practice, and was honestly, homies ever since, man. And like you say, probably one of my, if not, one of my best friends in the world. Man, we've actually, been in each other's homes, and not just, as far as I know where you stay and, I know your people, but, we've been in each other's, family, personal business, and, we've learned a lot, went through a lot, shared a lot. Some of the things that, we didn't share, we seen and just kind of were always there for each other. So it's been amazing to have a blessing. I'm not going to even say amazing because I don't want to take anything away from what, God designed and destined. It's been a blessing to have, somebody like you that has, and, even times where, we didn't talk as much, it was always fluid, man. And so, it started there, and we just been cool ever since, man. So from Prospect and in the areas over there all the way to Montgomery and beyond, man, it's been an extremely cool ride, man. And we got some stories in the middle of it all. We got some stories, sure. So I don't know if all of them are made for TV. But,
oh man, no doubt, man. Like I said, man, I'm just so man, I'm proud of you, man. Just want to say that first and foremost, man. You one of several people that graduated with us that decided, after high school to move away and start a family. I know you went to the Air Force first, man. You and a handful of our other friends went to various, branches of the military, man. And I ain't gonna lie, I was mad at all of y'all, man. I was mad at everybody for leaving because I felt like, um, I was never leaving. In my mind, I was never leaving the hometown, and we were just going all just grow up and run the town together. But it's been a blessing to see. Like, I mean, you come down here and just kind of broaden my horizons early on because you begin to get into a space that you may not have been able really to jump into back home, especially at that time. We weren't known for fashion, entertainment style. You was one of the guys back in the day, man. You were more R&B. I was more hip hop. You know what I'm saying? You were a little more R&B. You like to. We riding around, man. You was singing and everything, man.
No, definitely.
Just hanging out, man. But so when you came down south, and and after I think you might have been going to FAMU at the time. But then you talked me through when you first got into fashion and what was the impotence behind that.
So, like you said, the fashion thing honestly was well before high school. My mom was a designer by nature. My mom was somebody that literally she sold by eye, and so
Okay.
she could look at something and recreate it. Just like she'll turn it, a pair of pants or a jacket or something inside out, and she would recreate it. So fashion was something that was really her thing, and I guess it was definitely hereditary. I've always been in the shoes and clothes and stuff like that, but like putting stuff together, I kind of learned a lot of that from my mom. Like, so, fun fact, when we was growing up, they had skids,
Mm-hmm.
and so never told anybody, but my mom would literally she bought me one pair of skids, and like most parents, I can make that, and
Right.
so she literally did, and we would just take the patch off of the one pair that was actually official
Mm-hmm.
and sew it on, and so it looked like I had a bunch of pair of skids, but I had one pair, and my mom kind of, what I'm saying, made the rest. So that was kind of
Oh
like,
man.
where watching the process, watching her go through the process,
Yeah.
and just kind of like picking that up from her, and then I started drawing designs. I was extreme introvert,
Yeah,
it,
I wouldn't have picked that up like we was coming up.
well, I mean, because most of it was number one. I think you know my story a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more than others. I I grew up with more so single parent household.
Right.
I grew up with my father and had visitation. Would see my mother on the weekends,
Okay.
and so I was kind of home to kind of care for my brothers and sisters most of the time. So I didn't really get to to go out and kick it like everybody else did.
Right.
I didn't because I had a different set of responsibilities. But so I literally, man, I'd sit in the basement and I write raps and draw clothes. That
Man.
was kind of my thing. Like, but the neighborhood we stayed in, and then
Right.
my mom's side of the family, we was definitely into the streets.
Mm.
I was caught in the midst of kind of both sides because I did have
Yeah. I know what you
a
mean.
little
Yeah.
street element
Mm-hmm.
on with some of uh, my cousins on my pop's side, but we were also heavily into church. So
Right.
I literally was I carried the devil and angel on each shoulder on a
Mm.
regular basis, and it was truly who I was, not necessarily a devil, but I definitely danced in the street stuff a little bit,
Right.
and I was definitely in the church, and both of those were part of who I was. But like I said, as being an introvert, I would literally
Mm.
just create stuff at the crib. I had a design book and I had a rap book. you know, stuff that, you know, that I was on, and just really couldn't, you know, be like, hey, fellas, man, I'm about to make clothes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Kind of wasn't popular or the cool thing at that time. But once I got to Tallahassee, because even when I got to the military, I stayed. That was kind of a passion that I was still, you know, dabble. But you know, by that point,
See, I think it's important for context that our viewers know that this was kind of pre Cross Colors, pre Sean
yeah,
John,
yeah,
pre Fubu. All of these
yep.
things were kind of developing right when we were becoming adults. So as a teenager, you know, you doing those things. You know, I think that's when Fubu first hit. Might have been
We
our
were.
junior or senior year or something like
It
that.
was it wasn't even then. That like so Fubu was after high school for us. The black brand was Carl Kanai.
Yeah, I remember Carl.
Carl
Yeah.
Kanai was the forefront black brand, and then Cross Colors was a popular brand, but it was I think that was British. And then especially in our hood, we were still on Nautica, and Helly Hansen, and Pele Pele, you know, stuff like that. But like there was really no, you know, like
So is Mark Buchanan? Is that a black brand?
nah, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's I mean, and it's a lot of so I mean, in really, you know, if you really dabble and really get into it, a lot of quote unquote black brands were just kind of, you know, black brand by
You like sub brands?
affiliation or representation, you know, who they had representing the brand. Fubu was a definitely, you know, a true black brand, and there's many others, you know, after the fact. But yeah, when I was dabbling, it was just, and it wasn't, you know, a thought process of creating something, you know, that was extremely different. It was just stuff I liked, you know. I didn't really have a thought process on like, I'm about to be the first in this.
Right. It's
Or,
more
you
so
know,
of a passion
yeah,
at first.
yeah, and that's kind of where it started.
I think that's probably why we got along so good, man, in high school because, you know, people didn't know, but you know, I wrote, you know, poetry and raps, and I read, man. I started reading when I started reading kind of like as a punishment. I was raised by my grandparents. You like you said, you know my story too. You know, raised by my grandparents for many years, and in the summertime, my grandpas wouldn't let me off the porch unless I read for an hour. But me not knowing that he really wasn't gonna quiz me on what I was reading, I didn't know you. I didn't know you couldn't. You couldn't not listen. I didn't know you could not listen to, you know, an adult at that time. So he told me to read for an hour. I'm like, I'm go ahead and read for an hour. But in that process, I began, first of all, my comprehension, my vocabulary, because he kind of gave me things to read. Man, a lot of stuff was historical. I remember we used to do school projects back then. They'd be like, you know, old folks' way of telling you they didn't know the answer was go look it up in the encyclopedia.
Yeah.
But the problem was the encyclopedias that we had, you know, that information was obsolete. You know, the whole Britannica encyclopedia from 1972 said, you know, that wasn't going in the 90s, you know, in the late 80s. So, but just developing that, like I used to read, I used to write, and then socially, like, you know, my brothers were older than me, and they were one in particular, my brother Mike. He was a little more into streets and, you know, and doing some things. Both of my brothers, you know, definitely had that element, but Mike was a little more boisterous with it, and it just sports, man, kind of kept, I think, because, you know, I was naturally a shy kid, but sports kind of, you know, I think that was a thing back then for both of us that really helped us socially just kind of become part of a team, part of a family, a social group, you know, already built in, you know, from when summertime and when school started. I know if it wasn't for football, I would not have hit the ground running per se, you know, in my teens, man. But, you know, like you said, when you're talking about fashion and then you talk about church and you talk about the streets, like you said, I can attest that was just you being who you were in all those environments, you know what I mean, and trying to navigate. So tell me a little bit about, you know, what was your decision on going to the military?
Man, so that was an extremely tough decision, honestly, because I never really wanted to go to the military. And you know,
Because you know, Boys in the Hood, they said, you know,
No, and
Furious Styles said, man, ain't no, what he say, ain't no room for black men.
Black men don't have no place in the military, the white man's military. And at the time, it definitely resonated for a multitude of reasons. And it's funny because shout out to Scott. Like I will say, I loved Macumber.
Okay, me too. Yeah,
and what it was for me, Macumber was the start of independence.
Okay.
You know, and what it, you know, like you say, the social aspect, you know, being an introvert, like to be an introvert and then go to a space when you're around people, but everybody welcomed you, so they made that transition easy. You know, I don't know if it would have been the same going into, you know, being an introvert and then going into a space your freshman year and being welcomed. Like, you know, like they full on, you know, from the upperclassmen, they full on embraced us. And sports may have had like you say, may have had a lot to do with it, but I think the shops and, you know, where you could kind of also find your, you know, your who you were going to be was cool. But to answer your question, as far as the military went, man, Miss Ramsey, she, man, like and like you said, she, you know, being around her, like me and you both, you know, were into, you know, reading, and that was her thing, you know. But you know, she would pull me, her and Miss Black would literally put Miss Black. Actually, she had us set up to we were hired at Jeep, man, right out of high, like so, like right out of high school, we had already had a job.
Well, let's go back. So we graduated high school,
right,
and everybody was talking about, you know, they were going to college, they was doing this and that. I was one of those brothers that, you know, I'm gonna go in January, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we graduated June. I'm like, I'm trying to figure this out. I really didn't want to go to school, but you know, Miss Black, we had I said it before, we had a class called Jobs for Ohio Graduates, you know, and she took us through, you know, soft interview skills and really she was just a place of encouragement, you know, to telling us that, you know, we could do it and do something, you know what I mean? So she sent me. You went too. We went to Chuck E. Cheese. Yeah. So we went to Chuck E. Cheese. She said, "Go Chuck E. Cheese hiring. Chuck E. Cheese is about to open and where we stay at, where we live." And it was like, we get to Chuck E. Cheese. Two guys in front of us. They like, okay, you're gonna come back on Saturday. Make sure you got your khakis and you got your shirt. This, that, and third. And this guy go up. Make sure you got your khakis. You got the shirt. I think I might have went up first. They told me like, we'll get back with you. then you went. They said we'll get back with you. And then the guy behind you, they're like, okay, come back Saturday. And then so that same week, I went. You know, I had a little pizza car. We went to the pizza place. They was hiring for delivery driver.
Yeah.
The dude said, "Oh, you got a car?" I was like, "Yeah." So he walked outside, took a look at my car, and said, "I'll get back with you." so that went from June, no job, July, no job, August, no job. I get a call. We both get set up on, Ms. Black says, September 20th. Down at Private Industry Council, they got a job paying more than $10 an hour at a union shop. I put both y'all names down there. Y'all go show up. So people don't know. Well, people that know me know. I was still 17, but you had to be 18 years old. I did not. I turned 18 September 19th, and we filled out the job application on September 20th. And so I think I subsequently started work there on November 1st. But yeah, so it wasn't set up right after. That was a long summer.
It felt like. And so for me, the difference is I already knew.
Yeah, you know you were rolling out.
I already knew I was going to the military, so it was kind of. I was really just doing all this stuff, going through the motions.
Yeah.
But at the time, I didn't know this then.
Okay.
But shortly thereafter, I realized that I could have told the military no.
Oh, so you thought I was already signed up.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
But and the other thing was no knock on Toledo at all. But I never felt like the things that I wanted to do, I was going to be able to accomplish there. Mm-hmm. And so, I was looking at this as like, this is going to be my only opportunity to see something different and see, if I have a chance,
right?
And so it was like, and that's what made it tough because I'm literally. Most people don't know when I left for the military, my mom was sick, like terminally sick.
Yeah.
So that was, and then I had my younger brother and sister were both. My brother was in high school. My sister was coming shortly behind that. And again, we're extremely close to this day. Like we still
only a few years, a couple years apart.
We're all 2 years apart, and then like even to this day, we live like 15 minutes away from each other. Like we've always, been extremely close. So it was difficult to leave, but it was just like and then the other thing is and this is kind of a philosophy I live by. Like I was telling so many people I was going to the military, like I felt like it was almost motivating me to leave. Where I didn't want to look crazy by saying that this is I'm doing this and then because we did have cats that did that was like I'm going to the military and then be like nah, and they just
I found out you could quit.
Yeah.
A couple of people went. I thought you go to jail for that. I know you just said I'm going home.
There's loopholes in everything in life. But and so it was like it was a difficult choice. Because again, like I said, especially when you look at, you got an opportunity to have a really good paying job, you can stay close to family. But I felt like I needed that, just to see if what I thought I could be or what I thought, what I seen myself as, I wanted to see, if I could see that to fruition. So,
no doubt.
And the military kind of just, it helped.
And in the grand scheme of things, man, like, a 4-year enlistment, as long as you don't gotta go to war, ain't really a bad thing.
We did enlist during Desert Storm, and that was the crazy thing. Like I think soon as we enlisted, this was you had a chance to be sent off the Desert Storm.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Because my wife, we didn't know each other at the time, but she enlisted, I think in like '89, and then she said Desert Storm started.
When she was coming up,
and when she was still in, but she was about to come out. So.
Yeah. But I mean, again, man, like we grew up in the hood in Toledo. We was at war every day. Like, we had just as much a chance of not making it out of the hood as we did of not making it out of the military.
Yeah, so we came along when the crack and the gangs started booming, man. I mean, you showed me, you had to tell me about some stuff, man. I remember we got off the bus. Man. It was two little dudes dressed in all red. Not from way back. We live in Ohio, but I always been Detroit is 45 minutes away, so I was always Detroit everything. Detroit Lions, Detroit Tigers. Detroit Pistons, Michigan Wolverines. So I think I had on a blue and
it was the Tigers. I remember. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah, man,
it was fresh too. He had it like so. Al was one of the cats that was younger than us, but always had a job. So dude, he definitely was there are some businesses that probably shouldn't be open because he was always working under the table or something. This dude was 14 working, but like, and so he always was fresh, and so he had this. It was a cold Detroit Tigers outfit that I've never seen. To this day, I ain't seen it. But we got off the bus, man, and little young cats was on some. What's up with all that flu?
Yeah, they were like eighth grade or something. They were like ninth grade.
They was really trying to check us. And Al was just like, man, what is y'all talking about? Like, we not sick.
I was like, man, what's up with these little dudes? It was like three of them. I'm thinking, like, I know I can at least beat up two of them.
Well, I mean, all of them was smarter than us. Like, if it came down to the come down, you know, I think we was good. But it was, I knew what they was on and what it really was, and it was like this ain't about to be no fight, buddy. Like,
as soon as we turned the corner, it was about 13 of them waiting behind the dumpster.
It was a mob. It was a mob of Crips. Or Bloods.
Yeah,
it was Bloods.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah,
it was a straight set. Yeah. It was a straight setup, man.
Yeah.
So that was like, but then our neighborhood started separating along those lines. It might only be 2-3 blocks. Yep. You know, somebody you went to school with, you know, your whole life. Grade school career, and then y'all
ain't even homies no more.
Yeah, you 16 years old, and now y'all sworn enemies or something. So man. So the military. So after the military, you went straight to college. So how'd that work?
Well, I was in the military.
Okay.
I took junior college classes.
Okay.
And it was really more so again, because I ain't like the military.
Okay.
So it was it wasn't even it was to try to get out of having. So when you're in the military, you're always on call.
Yeah.
And so I had a couple of homeboys that worked on the flight line, and sometimes they had to. It'd be the weekend. And we'd be like, you know, hey, we about to go hang out. We about to go kick it. Excuse me. And these cats would get called in. And so the only thing that, you know, you could get excused for was school.
Okay.
And so I was like, shit, I'm about to, you know,
about to go to school.
Classes. Yeah. So I don't, you know, so that was that. And then a buddy of mine actually was a cat I didn't know in Toledo. Excuse me. But he's from Toledo.
Okay.
He was one weekend. He was just like, man, let's go to Tallahassee for the weekend. And we was like, all right, cool, man. We got to Tallahassee. You got Florida A&M University, Florida State there.
So how you was in Panama, right?
Panama City.
So how far was Tallahassee?
About maybe a couple hours.
Okay.
It wasn't far. I mean, it wasn't a long drive because, I mean, we was literally, when we first started going and really fell in love with it, we'd get off of work on Friday and we was on the road and be gone for the weekend. But yeah, you know, going back and forth and just kind of being around that atmosphere, especially on FAMU's campus, you just see all of these black people, and it was like, they look like you.
Yeah.
They act like you, and they're from everywhere. It was just like, yo, this is like, it was a real life in different world, you know, like,
yeah.
And you know, you seen that, and you
felt like you was that human or something. Huh?
Man, it wasn't real. It was definitely, because, you know, for us, we lived you live life, or you live your vicarious point of life through television back then,
right?
And so, you know, we grew up, we had the Cosby Show, Different World, and you know, and so, like, you know, it was a fallacy, you know, that okay, like, this people,
right,
we really live like this, you know, black people really live like this, because it wasn't, you know,
say that's just TV.
Yeah, that wasn't TV. On our, and then when you really seen that this is a real thing, it was like, oh man, like this is what's up. And so yeah, it was, you know, back and forth with them. It was like, and then the other thing was, right before I got ready to get out of the military, my mom passed.
Okay.
And so it was like the same thing that made me not want to leave the crib made me not want to come
Want
home.
to come back.
You know, because it was just like, life as I know it is no
Different.
longer, the same. And like me and my mom were extremely close. She had me at a very young age at 15, and so like we literally we grew up together. Like when she graduated, she was the valedictorian of her class. She did her speech with me at her arm. We were just like super close. And then the biggest deal was she passed a month to the day before my 21st birthday. And so we had a conversation, and she was sick and all of this stuff, but we literally were planning out my 21st birthday. Like, this is what we gonna do. We gonna blah blah blah. And like I said, by her passing before that, it was just kind of and I probably have never told anybody this, but I don't celebrate birthdays because of that. Like I literally just had a birthday a couple of days ago, and supposed to be quote unquote monumental, but it was just like, I could never build myself up to. Really,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So from the last time I really got into birthdays was my 20th. My 20th.
Yeah.
From then it was just kind of like
Another day.
Yeah. And then the older you get, and once I start having kids, like 24th really was the day you putting together stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I'm putting together basketball goals and training sets and stuff like that. So
come all about the kids, man. Anyway.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful, so it was a beautiful distraction.
Yeah, for sure.
What was going on. But yeah, man, the transition was more so, as far as schooling, was just kind of trying to escape what, you had to do in the military, and then escape from going back home to reality, But, all of those things, like I say, those are my humanly justifications for those things.
Okay.
But the real justification is God always has a plan,
Yes,
sir. And that was, whatever I was on was his plan.
No, for sure. No doubt, man. I know, like you said, it's definitely God's plan, because you was able to meet your wife, man, and do some great things in that area, and then kind of groundbreaking. I know you told me that area kind of reminds you of home a little bit, but it was just, people were like a lot more. I don't know if that's a Southern thing, because, I only lived in the North. If that's a Southern thing where people kind of like, if you got a good idea, you want to do it, they'll just push it. I don't know.
Nah, I think honestly that was the HBCU experience.
Okay.
Like, I had homeboys, because like my partners was from everywhere. I got a
right.
real good homie that was from Cincinnati. I got a couple cats from Carolina, a couple cats from Michigan, Dayton.
Was your one guy from New York? Where he was from school too?
Yeah. So he was actually from North Carolina.
Okay.
He moved to New York after he got out of school. Yeah, but and it was all really what it was because those were in color dreamers, and so I think when you're inspired to pursue higher learning, I think you're somebody that kind of dreams outside of whatever your normal is, and so those cats literally, like I was at one of my partner's crib one day, and I was sitting on his computer, and I was making a design on his computer. He's like, "What's that?" I was like, "Oh man, it's a little clothing line I'm trying to start," and he's like, "For real? They kind of look like Calvin Klein," and so he looking at it, he's like, "Oh, move this here and move that there," and he's like, "Yo, man, this is dope, man. Like, so what you try?" I was like, "Yeah, I gotta find a seamstress," and he's like, "Man, dude, we gonna go to Miami and we gonna go get some fabric." And like this was like on a Tuesday.
Right.
That weekend, it was like 8 of us in Miami going through the fashion district buying fabric. You know what I'm saying? Like picking out fabric also, and everybody was just like, "Yo, bro, like, yeah." And
it's about to happen. Let's go.
And it was nothing. It was like there was no vision to be seen. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like I already had a piece out.
Right.
And, there was some movement or anything. It was just like, yo, like if you say you doing it, like and like it was. I used to tell people all the time, like, you had cats, like, I think if you said, "Man, I want to make peanut butter," man, my auntie got a peanut factory now. Let's go. Like you couldn't say you wanted to do something and be discouraged.
That's
Like they
great
encouraged
environment.
everything, and then so it was like, wow, like where they really believed, things were possible. And I think, like I say, being around so many like-minded, individuals, and not to say that, you don't have that same encouragement or camaraderie at a PWI. I just know that,
It'd be just harder to
being
find your
there.
tribe and
And it was
PWI,
like you literally, it was it was the when we was going to Macumber and we would have lunch, like the lunch room was literally like you knew your section, like you knew who was
Right.
over here, like you knew your table,
right,
but everybody belonged in the cafeteria.
right.
That's how I looked at the HBCU. Like
Okay.
everybody belonged there, and you just had to move your tray around to the table that
Where you fit,
was your group of But it was a
But you still was welcome.
right, and you was never sitting by yourself. You never set your tray down, and nobody, because even then, if you set it down by yourself, somebody would come over and be like, "Why you sitting alone?" Like you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so that I always thought that was, and that was kind of like, oh, I ain't going back home.
Yeah.
that was the because for us you didn't have that, so to speak. Like we we were fortunate, like we were blessed. Like our crew, we accepted each other flaws and all. You know what I'm saying? Like I
it was a motley crew, man. for
we
sure,
man,
for sure.
listen. I think about it now, and we used to from time to time we would walk, and it would be a gang, and I always equated to Fat Albert in the gang. Like we just needed theme music behind us bopping down the street, sometimes, and then the stories. I never forget. I won't say the cat's name, but we had a loquacious fabricator on our squad, and he was telling a doozy of a story one time, and one of our homeboys was like, "Bro, you ain't gotta lie to us. We your friends." And it was like, but it was so funny at the time, but it was profound because that's really
Right.
what it was. It's like, man, we homies, bro. You don't have to make up nothing.
No facades,
Like we
none
know
of that.
each other. Like you know what I'm saying. We know what it is. And so, like I said, we were fortunate enough to have a circle like that accepted, each other's
100%.
flaws and all. We didn't really have to deal with peer pressure or anything. Like we fit in wherever we were because, number one, I think, we had a great group of cats that, whatever we had going on, like when we was around each other, like we had extreme confidence. Like my dog here, so
Right.
I ain't, I'm not afraid. Nothing's going to happen. Nobody's gonna knock me off my square.
No, for sure.
With my homies, and that was, that was a blessing within itself. But the truth of what the city was at the time, like you had a lot of dream killers. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't say I'm about to do that. Oh man, you can't. I was watching something where Jay-Z was saying like my it's probably not a cool thing to talk about Jay-Z right now, but that's my guy. But
What did they say? Too soon?
yeah, too soon. Yeah. But he was saying something where he's like, he was telling his uncle, he wanted to be a rapper. And his uncle was like, nah. He's like, with that. But like, just, you inflict, what what you can't do on other people. And like, I think we had a lot of those.
No, I think that's what. How could I put it, man? Without when you raised by like a city where everything is blue collar, everything at that time was manufacturing based, everything was revolved around work. So it's like I remember I had a trumpet. I told this story before too. That I was raised by my grandparents. I had a trumpet, and my grandfather, man, he took my trumpet back to the music shop, and I came home one day. I was like, "What happened to my trumpet?" He's like, "That horn don't pay no bills." But the thing was, he heard me. I would be down in the basement for hours practicing. I was getting good. So I think that that horn not gonna pay no bills. It was setting me up for like a gut check, a reality check. That only thing that is that you're gonna make money off of, which is we know is not true, but from the area we grew up in, where you see steam and smoke coming out of all the smokestacks, you see trucks, you see trains, everything is, revolved around industry and manpower. You know what I'm saying? You overtime. You know, I'm getting time and a half. I work weekends. I'm trying to work holidays. Everything is based upon the number of hours that you could put in. So it was hard for me as like just having a entrepreneurial spirit. You know, because I started working. I used to be at the job like, you know, I did everything. Man. I sold burritos. You know what I'm saying? I'm selling burnt CDs. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting a couple used cars. I'm doing all of that while, and all these guys at work used to be looking at me like, man, what's wrong with you, man? Like we make good money. Like you don't need to be, you know, selling burritos, bro. But it was like, no, it's something inside of me. Like I think that it's more than this. When I come in here, you know, I started feeling boxed in and case. So it's not. I don't think it's a really a disrespectful thing to say that at that time, you know, that the landscape of our city was more so like, hey man, you just gotta be a realist. You just gotta get this job. You gotta get this work and just raise your family, take care of yourself, survive, stay out of jail, stay out of the morgue and live. So, but I think now, you know, our city's turning around, son. We have some people doing some awesome things, but at that time, man, when you leave, and I don't think it's a knock on the city to say that, you know, it wasn't that many opportunities for us in those different, you know, dreamer type areas.
Well, I mean, and I think the other thing is you know from you know your grandfather and me and my pops talk about this a lot. Like their reality was that Horn didn't pay the
Right.
bills. You know, so like what they were trying to prepare you for is what they were actually facing. Like what didn't, you know, like we have the ability now, not just because of technology, but because, you know, our understanding is different that there is nothing you can't do, you know.
Right.
And so we don't interject or inject that into not just, you know, our own kids, but the kids that we deal with. Like we, you know, we don't put a cap on their belief or their dream of themselves. But then it was like their reality was like, you know, I don't know nobody that plays a horn, you know, that's making money off of this, you know. So like I want to prepare you to be able to, you know, raise a family and provide for a family. So, you know, that he was, you know, kind of pushing his reality onto you, which, you know, wasn't your reality. And that was, like I said, I had enough discernment and was just blessed enough to know that, you know, at the time, like the stuff I knew I wanted to do, it wasn't going to be encouraged, you know, not just in my city, but maybe even so in my household.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, and directly, you know, surrounding. Like again, like I don't think I could have told, you know, and y'all my dogs. I don't think I could have been like, yeah, I'm gonna make clothes. You know what I'm saying? And we were clowns.
Right.
So the jokes that would have came out of that, you know, I probably would have, man, I'd had a whole nother nickname. You know what I'm saying? So it was just, you know, that wasn't, you know, our reality or what we wanted, you know, our dream, you know, was in black and white. Like we didn't see. And then the other thing is like you didn't see, like you wanted to play the trumpet, but like, you know, like who was on, and we were just getting into, you know, the MTV era and the VH1 and BET and the box. You know, wasn't nobody, you know, like you. I think Rump Shaker had the one dude playing the saxophone in the video. But,
right.
You know, I think that was as close as, you know what I mean. So, you know, just that our you know what we visualized was a little different, or what was, you know, in front of us. And so you know, it was, you know, again, no knock on the city at all. And then I grew up in the hood. It wasn't like, you know, we grew up in the suburbs where people were doing Jack and Jill and, you know, playing trumpets and, you know, stuff like that. Like, it wasn't happening on our block, you know what I'm saying? It was, you know, and nowhere around us, you know, we was going to Smith Park and like, it was literally be safe, you know what I mean? Like, you know, that was really the thing, you know what I mean? Like again, imagine you know, walking, you know, from Robinson or whatever with your trumpet, you know what I'm saying?
For sure.
You know what I mean? So, you know, it was, you know, they did the best they could with, you know, what was in front of them. You know, I always, you know, I like to use the, you know, the saying with a lot of, you know, talking to my family, grace. You know,
Yeah.
because where you were at one point, you know, just imagine now, you know, you know, he would, you know, it'd be a completely different great grandfather to your kids. Be, oh, you know, you should play the piano.
Right,
Like,
right,
man, I remember
right.
you gave away my trumpet, but now you bought her a piano. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
But you know, and that's grace. You know what I mean? And you know, so allowing, you know, people to have grace and understanding and growth. You know, those things are important. You know, to open different doors.
No, 100%, man. And you know, like we both men of faith, man. And I always wondered, like when you got into the adult entertainment space. I'm not talking about nothing,
I
you
didn't
know,
do, yeah.
illicit or nothing like that. I talk about just, you know,
Hey, let people watch it like,
not nothing, you know, not none of the entertainment where they bought an offering and nothing
Right.
like that. But
Right.
just, you know,
Right.
just promotions and just providing adult experiences. Just talking about kind of like
Yeah.
social adult experiences. You know, being that introvert, quiet person that you naturally were. But what is it about, you know, seeing others have different experiences that kind of brings that out of you?
So that's a great question because that also was tough. You know, being because when I first got to Tampa and started doing nightlife events, a lot of our events, you know, either during or after ended in fights, and some, you know, ended in guns being drawn and used. And I was actually, you know, I had a couple events where people got shot. You know, and it was, I always would go home with a, you know, a really guilty conscience of, you know, like I brought all of these people together. You know, I had, you know, and so that always kind of played on my psyche. And the older I got, I started to transition to things that were a little bit more stable, organized, secure, safe for, you know, adults, you know, mature adults. So I transitioned, you know, to like comedy shows, and I
Okay.
used to do even
Yeah, you do
jazz
like
and
jazz and
jokes.
jokes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember
yeah,
that.
you know.
Yeah.
So I kind of tried to kind of make it a little, you know, a little bit of a safer environment. You know, but the real answer to all that, man, like I get it. I really, although I'm personally an introvert, I really get a lot of joy in seeing people happy. Like I
Okay.
really like watching, you know, other people have a good time.
Yeah.
Watching other people because I like I used to, you know, I used to like watching, you know, like when you're around family for the
Yeah,
holidays and
for
stuff
sure.
like that because you know, I'm a different thinker. I used to call it weird, but now, you know, I'm a different thinker. Like I know, you know, I knew the struggles that, you know, some of my family had, you know, and it was like, okay, you might not, you know, you might have barely made it, you know, through the week or the month paying rent, but Christmas is just, and everybody's together and they all eating and having a
Yeah.
good time and playing cards and, you know, and it's like everybody for, even for that space, that moment, everybody's happy. Like they may leave the house and, you know, the bills and the woes and all that is still there. But, you know, I really like to see, you know, people enjoy themselves, and like I get more fulfillment than that. Like I can stand in a corner, and that, you know, as a kid, that was kind of, you know, my thing. I would just kind of watch
Like to
everybody.
observe.
Yeah, and just like, you know, okay, cool, man. Like you always want to remember the good times, you know, and I think, you know, events, and so that's kind of what, you know, actually motivates me to do stuff like that, you know, just to watch people, you know, have a good time. And I always wanted to put stuff on where people could walk away and be like, oh man, I had a great time. You know, we were doing when we were doing jazz and jokes, I had people that would come and be like, yeah, I met my wife here, or, you know, and
Yeah.
I literally just, you know, a few days ago, I had somebody reach out to me and was just like, hey, you remember this person that used to, you know, to come to the jazz and jokes, you know, they used to always talk about it. That was my a relative of mine.
Okay.
She passed, and we wanted to let you know because
Wow.
we knew that, you know, she used to, you know, frequent your events, and
Yeah.
y'all were pretty close, and it was just like, wow,
Thought of you like notifying family.
Yeah. And so it was like, wow, that was, so it's that for me. Like, I like we were talking earlier off camera. Like I'm a creative man. I'm the type of person that you give me an empty canvas, I want to go to work on it.
Yeah.
And once I'm finished with the project, like I don't look at it, like how to monetize or anything like that. I really just want to give it away and let I want people to
somebody just enjoy it.
Yeah, for them to look at it and however it makes them feel, and then I'm on to the next make you happy situation.
Yeah.
So man, it's that's the thing for me, man. Like
That's
I like
dope,
to see
man.
other people, genuinely happy.
Yeah, man, that's awesome, man. I know I had a chance in your early days, man, when you used to go out and hand out flyers. I came down here for something. He took me like, hey, just run out here with me right quick. We hand out flyers, you know what I mean? That was cool, man. I got a chance to come to your wedding, man. I don't know if I ever told you, but I think your wedding, man, it's like full circle for me because I got a chance to I bought down, I had a little camera, a little camcorder, set up, and my whole thing was, I didn't have much at the time, but I'm like, man, before I leave here, I wanna leave my guy with, something, man. So, I had really enjoyed that, man. And then just to see the progression of things you've done, like as an entrepreneur. So this is called Two Cups, man, and the impetus for it, is I try to live my life by this. It's like one for the wake, one for the work. You know what I mean? So 2 cups. So the wake, that's like what's inspiring you, what's pushing you forward, what you're thinking about, what's motivating you. And the work is like what steps, are you taking, or what things, are you trying to conquer to keep the work going. And I know you, man, 2024, man, was a learning curve for a lot of us, man. I started my podcast. I wasn't as consistent as I would like to been, and so this is probably gonna come on in 2025 and trying to be more consistent. But you went through some things in 2024 as an entrepreneur, and if you had some advice to give to some young upstart that hit some roadblocks, man, like what kind of advice would you give them?
Man, wow. So yeah, it was 2024, the end of 2023, and the most of 2024 was tough. But like advice I would give, honestly, man, is having a spirit of discernment. Really learning and understanding, like God is gonna open and close doors. Ask why. Like pray on those situations to see, like, okay, is this door opening? Like it's I think when we were kids, and maybe even a lot now, when people are like, oh man, if I ever hit the lotto, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and you spend it, but you never think of like, okay, if you really did have X amount of millions of dollars, like I like now I know to pray for discernment on like, okay, if I get this, like, what do I do with it?
Right.
Like what, like not me doing what I want. Like, how do I spend it? What, how do I, use this wisely? Who do I, give what to? And,
right.
So like, first and foremost is really kind of connecting with the spirit of discernment, vetting, individuals that relationships, are, extremely important. But we have to treat every relationship like we treat the most valued relationship.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, like, when you get with, a spouse, you're just like, okay, this person got to be this. You have this extreme criteria of, what they have to be. And that has to be that with any, like, with a friendship. Like my friends, like, you got to be somebody that's going to motivate me, that's going to hold me accountable, that's going to push me, that's going to check me. Like, you have to, and nowadays you just kind of like, oh man, we both like the same thing. This is my homie, this is my bestie,
right. My twin.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And that also, you have to have that as well with, partnerships, friendships, ships in general. Anything that you connect yourself and Two, I think it's really important that you know why you're doing it and how it benefits. You know, like people always talk about things that serve and don't serve them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like making sure that everything that you surround yourself with serves you in some way, shape, or form. I think we don't. You know, a lot of times it's just like, oh man, I got this great idea. I want to do this, and this is gonna be perfect. And you don't listen to voices of reason. You don't put enough research into, you know, and for me, like that's honestly been one of my biggest flaws is that I'm probably overconfident in some things where it's just like, oh yeah, I can do it. You know, and not, you know, really doing the homework and research. And then the other thing is not being able to, I'm like, it's hard for me to quit stuff.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know, like it's like I feel like, you know, like walking away or giving up is admitting a sign of defeat.
Yeah.
And I don't like, you know, and that's just, you know, maybe how we grew up. You know, we don't like to
lose.
lose.
Yeah, because I don't like to.
You know, but it's like,
fault, yeah,
and sometimes you gotta understand that if you learn a lesson, you didn't lose. You know, like, and I think, you know, I'm getting to that point where it's like, find the win within, you know, what it is, and there's a win in everything. You know what I'm saying? Like if you learn, you know, all right, man, cool. I lost $1 million, but I didn't lose $2 million.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I could have still been in here. You know, what I mean?
Bleed out.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and so you have to be able to find the win within, you know, what you're doing. And this is all wisdom stuff. This isn't, you know, necessarily. I think, you know, because you know, all of these things, you know, are applicable in different ways to different people. You know, like I said, if what my motivation is now is like, is it serving God and other people?
Yeah.
You know, before I was definitely a self-serving individual. You know, where it's like, I want this because I want this, and you know, I can do this because I'm dope at this, or you know, like man, can't nobody, you know, and honestly, you know, sometimes, man, I'm about to, you know, I'm about to kill these ends, you know what I'm saying? I'm about to, you know, it's like it ain't about that anymore. It's literally like
you like sometimes you gotta pop out and show them. Huh?
Yeah, and you know, it was really, and we come from that generation of braggadocious. You know what I'm saying? I'm the best. You know, like, you know, you wanting to be, you know, that just for the sake of saying it. Right. You know, and then as I get older, I realize that that's really all it is. Like you the title or trophy you hold is just the name. Like, you know, oh, I got a podcast. Like, so what? Like, you know, so I got, you know, I own a business. Like, you know, and you know, back in the day, it was like that used to be a brag. It's like, man, now when people be like, yeah, I own a business, like, man, you got some bills. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like we're, you know, like being a, you know, a business owner, you kind of know that, like, man, it's a lot that come with that. You ain't getting no sleep.
So I remember when I came to visit you a couple years ago, and I was just like, oh man, this is this and this day. You was like, yeah, okay, man.
Right.
Good to see you, brother. I gotta get back on here and get to work.
And that was it. You know, it was, you know, like where, you know, you don't really have, as an entrepreneur, you don't really get a chance to be proud of what you're doing because you still doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like you ever, you know, sit back and you can be like, wow, you know, this is what I've done and this is good. You know, it's just like, man, like, you know, this is what I've done, and like now I gotta go put, you know, I gotta go fix the sink. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, so you know, it's, you know, and valuing, you know, the things and the people that are important to you. Yeah. Like, you know, I think, you know, that, you know, especially for men and black men, and then like, you know, our age group, like when we grew up, it was just kind of like the boy Musiq Soulchild. You know, I always tell people about this, you know, teach me how to love. And he said, you know, I was told the definition of a man was to never cry Work till you're tired. Gotta provide. Always
Yeah.
be the rock for my fam. Protect them by all means and give them the things that they need.
Mm.
And then he's like, my relationship is suffering, trying to give you what I never had.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, that's us. It's like,
That boy was preaching, wasn't
man, dude, the song was so deep because it was just literally like, and you know, he ends it with "Teach me how to love" because it's
Yeah.
like I don't know. And then the other thing is like, "Teach me how to love you." You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Because like you may know how to love,
Right.
but like you know, loving somebody else is different. You know what I'm saying? Like you know what you think somebody needs may, and we you know as growing up, you know, a lot of times like. You know, I think we both were victims of this. Like, you know, we would play sports and like you look up in the stands and like wasn't nobody there cheering you.
Yeah.
Wasn't no like family, you know what I'm saying? It was like, you know, so I would trade having my dad in the stands
Yeah.
watching me do something great over, you know, him buying me a new pair of, you know,
Right.
like, you know, the things that, you know, they like, I'm doing all of this so you can have a roof over your
Yeah.
man. The lights can be
Yeah.
cut off if you come to one of my games. Like,
Nah, I
like,
got you. Yeah,
I
'cause
can
he
sit
was
in the dark
always
with
working.
you.
He was
Yeah, you
always
know,
working.
and so, you know, you have to understand. I had a last Thanksgiving, man. I'll say this real quick. We were all you know sitting around the house and had family and time and stuff like that, and the family was going through like you know hey what they're thankful for and this that and the third, and my son like now mind you like since he was 2, I've been you know showing him how to hoop. You know what I'm saying? Like we you know that's been my dog as far as you know this basketball thing goes, and I thought you know I felt like we spent a lot of time because we spent a lot of time working on his craft.
Yeah.
You know, he was just like, you know, I got a relationship with my dad. You know, I'm thankful for the relationship I had now with my dad.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm thinking, you know, in my head, we always had a relationship.
Right,
And then I
right.
really thought about it, I was like, we didn't.
Mm.
We, you know, I was, you know, coach. You know what I'm saying? And so
Man,
like
okay.
that was, you know, and now, you know, we have like we talk about everything. Like that's like my homie. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
so
saying?
he probably felt like it was like work, huh?
It was transactional.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Where it was like, as long as I'm doing something for you, you know, as long as I'm, I'm doing this basketball thing,
Yeah.
because this is what makes you happy.
Yeah, we spending time.
This is what you know. This is where our bond is. You know what I'm saying? We got something to talk about. You know, because it wasn't you know just like, hey man, how's you know, it was just like, hey bro, like you see this move, like hey, when you get home, we gonna work on this, or you know,
Right,
like
right.
I'm gonna get you with the trainer, and we going, you know, and then you know after that it was, you know, we talk about that and like we literally went from AAU, you know, but you know those things like you know, and it would be many times where you know I made my kids have to understand what I was doing.
Yeah.
You know, and have to say, well, man, you know, I got an event tonight, or I can't come to this because, you know, Saturdays I do this, and, you know, and force them to have to, and, it, you know, and, you know, that, you know, those things, you know, you can't get that time back, you know,
Right.
so you look up and they
100%.
graduate and then then they get to the point where it's like, you know, I'm off from college. I don't want to come home this weekend.
Right,
you know what I
right.
mean? Like, and because you know, it wasn't like you know we had a great relationship in the first place. You know what I mean? So
So you try to do those things that, you know, kind of been family tradition according to us. And you be looking up like, don't you always love going to that restaurant? You know,
Right.
don't you always love-
you always, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, you know, it's and like I said, all of it's wisdom, you know, in being able to, like I say, find the lesson within everything, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And like, you know, I think that's, you know, that's one thing, you know, there's a lot of flaws in me as a person. But I think I've always been able to check myself, you know, on a lesson and be like, oh man, I gotta tighten up on this, or oh, I gotta, you know, oh, I gotta fix this, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and really try to work at doing those things. It's, you know, unfortunate that, you know, you gotta do it so much. But,
Right.
you know, that's, you know, so, you know, that would be, you know, if I was to tell somebody just kind of like, you know, discernment, you know, vetting your circle, and then just, you know, like make sure your why is a real why. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If money is the why, it you built off of the wrong thing, because you know nowadays, like we talked about earlier, you can make money doing so many different things. You know, if money is your end all to be all, then you know you gotta readjust that.
No, 100%, man. And I think that's wisdom, considering, you know, we like you said, when you're young, you just kind of, if it's a good idea, if the money's there, if it makes sense, you just try it, you know, and then you understand later in life that everybody has different motivators, and you could be saying the same thing, but what I found out, you could be saying the same thing, but actually it means has a different definition. Although you even said the same thing at the same time, and then you both kind of sometimes walk away from partnerships bitter or hurt because it was what you call that unspoken expectations or misinterpretations or just sometimes lies. You know, it just is what it is. You know what I mean? But
it's a text understanding.
Yes.
I think, a lot of times when you text stuff,
Right.
it can be misinterpreted. I think we operate a lot of times without asking questions, and we people are way more emotional nowadays than like you'll literally be like it's funny. You hear people, say stuff like, "Oh, I'm quick to cut somebody off," or
Right.
"I'm quick to block somebody," or I match energies.
yeah,
And
I hear that a lot.
like,
Yeah.
like all of that stuff is crazy. Like, why are you quick to, like why not be quick to try to understand a person? Why not be quick to,
Yeah.
because sometimes like it's a such thing as agreeing to disagree, and
sure.
like okay, cool, we ain't on the same page on this, and we'll just leave that at that. But like I'm gonna cut you off.
Because
everything.
biblically, man, it say be slow to anger. You know what I mean? Slow to speak. I think everybody has a platform. Everybody has a voice. Sometimes they need to kind of wait and reserve. They try to put out so much information or content that I think sometimes they don't even give themselves a chance to make up their own mind before they put it out there.
It's grace, man. Like I say, like we don't give people grace and understanding that okay, this may be where you at right now, and if you don't serve somebody, I'm not saying like you gotta stay in a situation that ain't serving you,
Right.
but like you still gotta give people grace that they'll change. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like I might not rock with you right now, but I'm not blocking you from my life. You can't never come back from it. Like we just ain't on the same page right now.
You
maybe.
can't reconcile. You can't be restored. It might be a process.
I mean, all of that, like you say, it's all biblical. Like like if God condemned us for everything that we did, if He blocked us,
Right.
if He matched our energy,
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
for sure.
We be in a crazy space, and not to say that we're on God's level, but we still do have to love each other a little bit harder.
For sure.
I think it's a lot of quit and a lot of and like we talked about to a fault. We can't. It's hard for us to quit. That ain't this generation, man. That ain't these times,
Right.
man. People,
No, for sure.
man, people quit so many like John, like people quit stuff fast now.
So let me ask you this, man, before we get out of here,
Yes, sir.
man. So I know I asked you about what advice that you would have for like a young entrepreneur, but now we reaching these milestones as far as like I never expected when I was 18 years old. I never expected to be 49, about to be 50 years old. It just wasn't. It wasn't really on my radar. You know what I mean? I was just trying to survive. But as life went on, there's so many things I wish I would have took care of earlier that now I am putting in place, like as far as legacy, as far as financially, as far as, God has given me, the grace and the ability to kind of play catch up on a lot of things. But as we're moving into this space where, our children are at the ages where, like I have 2 grandchildren, but your children are at the ages where they soon to be having children. And a lot of people that came out of where we come from, they had that 30 and out mindset. They had that, retirement mindset, that I'm just going to retire and do nothing. I'm just going to, live in the, rest of my days just chilling, fishing, or, on the grill or whatnot. But what would you give them advice to how to stay motivated, how to really look at this next step? Like somebody might think it's too late to get something going, or somebody might think that, they missed their opportunity. What would you say to somebody like that?
I mean, it's not to sound or say something cliche, but nothing is never too late for the simple fact that like your passion develops at different stages. Everybody's passion, because it's some people that have wanted to do something all their life, but maybe they're just not getting the confidence to do it. Maybe, they're finally at a stage where, I really know how to do this. You know what I'm saying? I can really dive into, and then plus it's like you have to have you always got to be happy with you, and I think it starts there. I think if you're totally happy with who you are, I don't really think things are, it's a confidence thing, or I think it's like if you're not happy with you, you don't feel comfortable doing something.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you're happy with you, it's not really about having confidence. It's like, you know what? If I fail, I fail being me.
For sure.
I failed, the way I wanted to do it. Like, a lot of times if you're lacking confidence, you're not happy with something about, and that's one thing, I may not be happy where I am financially or spiritually, and but I know all of those things I can work on. But I'm happy being Sean. You know what I'm saying?
I don't want to be nobody else.
And I think I do me better than what I'm saying. It's I know what I want more than anybody else knows, and I know what what'll upset me, what'll defeat me, and I don't, and I've never been afraid to be uniquely me. You know what I'm saying? From this back in school, I think I remember I had these corduroy, they were corduroy paisley overalls. and I rocked the bad boys with confidence, to the point where everybody yo, them fresh.
Right.
But it was this is just me. I'm not, and I think when you're happy with you, then it opens the door to you being kind of you can't I'll back up. Get in touch with the relationship with yourself. Learn you, before you introduce you to anybody else,
right.
Make sure you know you. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't go and be like, hey, this is my guy Al,
right.
without knowing who Al really is. And we have to have that same thing about ourselves. If I can introduce me to anybody, then I can do anything as me. You know what I'm saying? If my relationship with me is so strong, then it's I ain't afraid to do nothing. So it's the fear lies within just the discomfort in you.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So if that made sense.
No, for sure, man, for sure. Like I said, we're reaching some milestones in our lives, man, and I'm excited. I'm not done yet. I'm always looking for, try to stay sensitive and open to opportunities. When I was younger, me and my wife used to go through it early in our marriage because I was one of those guys where I didn't want to go window shopping. I didn't want to look at no houses I couldn't afford. I didn't want to talk about make plans and this and I don't want to talk about going to vacation because I can't afford it. Yeah. Don't talk to me about doing nothing until I got it. but just learning that life, man, you have to be open to the possibility because we saying God could do whatever He want with us. He could open up any door. It don't necessarily depend on what we bring to the table. We just have to be willing. Willing to go, willing to try. Not be afraid to fail. I got this thing where I don't do anything that I have expectations from somebody else to make it happen. If we do something together, I'm gonna go all out. It's not gonna be contingent on whether what the other person brings to the table. I'm gonna bring everything I got to the table, and it doesn't necessarily mean that I may have more resources. They may have more talent, or I may have more talent. They may have more resources, or maybe a combination of both. But I'm not gonna let the tangible things, get in the way of whether or not it makes me entertain the idea. Some things just don't make sense, but at the same time, just being able to, I'm willing to go to different countries now. My wife would tell you that was something that I didn't have no interest in. I was one of the people that if I didn't have the money, you would ask me, did I want to go do something? I'd be like, I don't like that. You want to go to Cedar Point? Man, Cedar Point whack. I don't want to go to Cedar Point. Instead of saying that I can't afford to go to Cedar Point, but I had fostered that, had cultivated that mentality, that attitude, even
yeah.
past the point where I could go. But now I was like on some bah humbug stuff with everything. I don't like it, you know. But now, but like you said, know yourself. So I got into a space now over the years where, you know, I know what I like, I know what I don't like, and my wife even tell me now, like, it's like you don't got real bougie over the years. She like, you don't got real particular. I was like, yeah, it's kind of, you know, because before it would be her like looking at like before, like we could sleep on the floor, you know, we go out of town, you know, no matter how many people in the room. And when I got married, she was the one that kind of like, this kind of looks like a truck stop, you know what I'm saying? Like this look like paid by the hour. I don't want to really stay here. And I'm like, it's cool. It's cool. We going to do that tomorrow. All we doing sleeping.
We gonna go sleep for a couple hours.
Yeah, for sure. So, but like now, I'm the one that like, what's the reviews on that? You know, on that place? You
So we got 4 stars.
Right? Like, we got at least 4.5. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, man. But that's where I'm at with it now, man. Like I said, I just grateful to be down here in Tampa with you for a few days, man, just to kind of hang out. That's kind of been my thing for going into this next year, and you know, as this time coming out, we're into the new year. That I want to be able to go and experience different places, and you know, if the opportunity arises to meet people, to talk about people in the spaces that we're there. Like I said, I just want to have high quality, caffeinated, sometimes non-caffeinated conversations, because you know I'm finding out that coffee hit people different ways. Some people drink coffee, get a little too wired. So, but for me, you know, just one for the wake, one for the work. But so that two cups don't necessarily have to embody coffee, but at the same time, you know, I appreciate a good roast myself. But I just want to thank you, man, and once again, just tell you, man, I enjoy, you know, our conversations, man, and just our back and forth about knowing where we came from and then understanding where we are now, and really excited about, you know, where both of us are going in our future, and honestly look forward to something popping up to where we can kind of collaborate on and do some things together.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Listen, bro, I'm a fan. You know what I'm saying? Like this is my joint, man. I if nothing else, and like we talked about, you know, vetting your friends and all of this, man. Like, you know, I will, you know, make sure that I continue to push you, because this is very, this is incredible. Like, number one, to see you in this space. But like, what's like, this is your lane. Like, you do this well. Like what y'all don't know is ain't no teleprompter or no scripture, nothing like this. Like this cat really do this thing. Like, if you guys really see like what goes on production wise and what happens behind the scenes, like this dude is phenomenal. Like, this is top to bottom his production. You know, you can't see him. He working a switchboard in the middle of, you know, and like that's this stuff isn't, you know, normal. Like, this ain't everyday, you know, everybody has it. So like, this is something that, you know, you've been blessed with. I encourage you to continue to, you know, perfect your craft, continue to stay in this lane, continue to do what you're doing, man. Like I said, I'm a fan. Like, you got 2 episodes. I already told you that's like pretty much like the it for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like keep doing your thing, man. I'm grateful, you know, for the opportunity to, you know, to be on. I'm grateful, you know, to have you, you know, in the city that I stay in, and you know, and all of the stuff that we've ever done, man. You know, it's just, you know, I salute you. You know, if you know, give me your flowers, man. Continue to do your thing, because you got something, bro. And you know, and I again, like, I love to see my guys, my people, you know, happy doing it. And this is you, like, this was, you know, so do your thing, bro.
Man, thank you, man. Appreciate that, man. From the heart, my brother. And just man, I'm keep people updated on, you know, what we got going, what we're doing. Got some coffee coming out. I got some products, some shirts and mugs and things that'll be available. They may be available now, but I'll have more information on that soon to come. We're trying to move from, in 2025, we're just trying to handle business, you know, just do business as men, and things that, you know, just trying to take away all my excuses for doing, you know, a lot of things. And I think in the past, I always felt like if I hustled to a point where I could pay somebody to do something, then it'll get done. But then I started understanding that nobody's gonna do you like you can. So you gotta sometimes still blaze that trail, still get out there and do what you need to do until the others can get the vision and then they can run with it. But a lot of times, why it's conceptually, it don't matter how much money you got, you can't make it happen. So I'm just trying to get to a place this year where the consistency, I'm committed to consistency and just like you said, just perfecting the craft and just moving forward. So I'll be keeping everybody updated, man, and I appreciate your sentiments, man, and as always, man, much love.
Same to you, bro. Same
Yes,
to
sir.
you.
Yes, sir. So this has been your man, Two Cups, Alan C. Jackson, for another high quality caffeinated conversation. Until next time, Two Cups.
Two cups.